to the Screaming Pods Network.
Something's coming.
Stand by. Hold on to your hats, here we go.
Welcome to the Screamcast, episode 155. I am Sean DeRager. Today we have a special interview episode. The reason why is because I was trying to put these two interviews into the next episode, but we have been having such a hell of a time trying to get everyone together for this next episode. In the meantime, I have recorded two interviews. Stephanie Crawford joined me for an interview with Phil Nobile Jr., Editor-in-Chief and Creative Director of Fangoria. And then Brad Henderson joined me to talk to director Todd Sheets. He's the director of films, most recently Bonehill Road. We also talk about his crowdfunding for his upcoming film, Clownado. So some fun stuff on this episode today. Pretty shortly, probably within a week, maybe even less than a week, our full episode will appear. It'll be episode 156. It'll be another full episode. You're going to get two episodes back to back since we've been so off and on lately. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited to dive into the next episode. We're going to be talking about 1986 film called Link. We're going to be talking about a Japanese film, Mon Monsters, and then we're going to be talking about Scream Factory's Blu-ray release of The Gate 2. So some good stuff coming your way within a few days. A lot of you have been asking, where's BJ? Why hasn't BJ joined you on shows? Scheduling has been crazy. She's been pretty busy. She's been doing a lot of theater stuff, and she's gearing up for more Powerbomb stuff. So she has decided to move kind of into a guest host capacity. She'll be joining us on our Vinegar Syndrome episodes, still doing her back room. But I'm not sure, as time allows, she may be in and out as kind of a guest host. So she hasn't been, gone anywhere per se. She's just moving into a different capacity with the podcast. And, she's doing a lot of exciting things. So we wish her all the best on that, and she'll be back. She will be making some appearances. All right, well, let's jump into today's episode. I hope you guys enjoy. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter, Scream_cast, and keep in touch with us over at thescreamcast.com for anything else.
Welcome to the world of terror. When I'm not busy embalming bodies, which isn't often, I like to relax with some good family reading. Let me introduce you to my personal library of Fangoria, the leader in horror entertainment. What a fascinatingly hideous cover of Freddy Krueger. And devilishly candid reviews of the latest horror videos, and gloriously bloody color photos from the newest Friday the 13th. They're all here in Fangoria. Can I persuade you to subscribe? Customers! Let the dead bodies wait.
Joining us right now on the Screamcast is the Editor-in-Chief and Creative Director of Fangoria, Phil Nobile Jr., joins us right now. Phil, thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
We're good. I think Steffi's probably just like me. We're anxiously awaiting the button to subscribe to give you money for this relaunch of Fangoria. So
give me that money. I think by the time this airs, the subscriptions will be open.
Perfect.
You're going to go to fangoria.com as of May 1st, 3 p.m. Eastern, and you'll be able to subscribe. And you'll get a nice, shiny new Fangoria every 3 months in your mailbox.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So to me, like, this is kind of a huge undertaking when I would even think about it. Because when we started hearing, Fangoria kind of having trouble and possibly going away, there's kind of like this death rattle throughout, the whole horror community and everything.
The end of an era.
Yeah, well, that's what it felt like, because I remember, some of my friends when I was a kid, their older brothers, of course, always had copies of Fangoria, and we'd always be looking through them and everything. And so it's definitely a huge, building block on my fandom of horror. So, so when you guys came in, what led up to that? What was the kind of the challenges that came your way when you decided to kind of take this monster on? Because it's a big deal, and frankly, it would probably scare the shit out of me to take something like that on.
Sure. Well, the publisher, his story with this magazine is a little longer than mine, but I think he was in the works for about a year trying to buy it from the previous owner, who had had some difficulties getting it published at the end. And that's I think that was just a marketplace thing. That was a concern with trying to get a magazine out 10 times a year onto the newsstands, and you're competing with the internet news cycle. And I think that's just a losing game. I think that's not something that you can expect to do and succeed at in 2018. Or, I guess 2016 is when they finally closed shop. Mm-hmm. So it's a drag because Fango was putting out some pretty good content up until the end there. The guys that were working under those conditions did their best and did a really pretty solid job of putting out a magazine under, let's say, less than optimal conditions. But that said, when we took it over, it would have been insane to say, okay, let's pick it up where it left off, because picking it up where it left off would have been inheriting all of the same publication challenges and the same issues of competing with the internet news cycle. So it's not that. We're not picking it up where it left off. We're kind of reimagining the magazine in a way that makes sense for today. So as the first step was to make it a quarterly. It's not trying to get news out every so often. It's a quarterly. It's more of a film journal. It's going to be deeper dives, long reads, access to filmmakers, hopefully in the first person, telling their own stories, which is something I'm excited about. There's going to be an archaeological element to it where we are, because one of the challenges was, how do we keep talking about these movies that we've been talking about for 30 years? What's left to say? Mm-hmm. And that's not an admission of defeat. It was a challenge. What is left to say? And I've got writers who have went and found things out about some of our favorite franchises that we've never heard before. I'm super excited about that part of this magazine. And it's about creating a space where people who you might not have heard writing about horror films before have a place to do that and kind of stretch and not be reliant on a goldfish memory of the internet where it's we're just passing links around, and you wonder half the time if anybody's reading the articles. They're just, here's a link and here's a like and here's a retweet. Like, right. Here's 100 pages where you could just turn off the friggin' internet for 2 hours every 3 months and just sit and read some really good writing about the films you love and the films that you don't know you love yet, but you're going to when you read about them.
Awesome.
How's that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. So are these Fangorias ones I could actually put on my bookshelf and refer back to, basically?
Ooh.
Absolutely. That was one of the decisions. I wish we had cameras rolling when we were visiting a printer in Dallas. This very nice gentleman who runs a print shop in Dallas that puts out, political pamphlets and catalogs and stuff, sat there listening to us raving about it needs to be this and it needs to look like this. And he's listened to all of our notes, and we have created a handsome, it's called Perfect Bound. So it has a spine. Ooh. So it's not stapled in the middle. It's going to be a perfect bound edition that is printed on like really nice paper and cardstock, and it's going to hold up, and it's going to look great on your bookshelf is the short answer. But it's also going to sort of, if you put it in a pile of Fangorias, the dimensions of that our new book will match the original Fangoria. So there's a certain amount of legacy and a certain amount of evolution happening with the physical copy that I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And I mean, I'm a huge hoarder of physical media, so having something that I can refer back to is great, and something that I love, because I get completely overwhelmed with the internet news culture in general, entertainment, the horror community stuff, back and forth, and it to me just gets overwhelming. And I don't even even when I started up this. When Brad Henderson and I were starting up this podcast, we were trying to even keep up with the news cycle, or even if like the new release Blu-ray cycle. And it was just, I was like, this is not what I want to do. I want to take my time and kind of just put out just a fun podcast that people can listen to. And that news cycle is kind of a beast of its own. So it's great to hear that how you guys are going to wrangle that into more thoughtful pieces. And that was going to be one of my questions, was how are you guys going to do that? And you answered it. And that even makes this even more appealing and even more like worth my money. Mm-hmm. You know, to have something that I can.
I think we can admit that the internet's kind of terrible, right? Not you guys. You two are great, but beyond that,
no, we're part of the nightmare. Okay.
You're part of the problem. It just gets to be a lot, and you know, the more we thought about it, and the more we leaned into it, it was like, man, imagine if we presented ourselves as an alternative to the internet. And I think that that's something that's in the air. I think that you see people, you know, buying vinyl, and you see people kind of deleting Facebook, which is, I did it 4 years ago, and now everybody's catching up to me. It's amazing. I think that we need to recognize that we can't always be on the internet, and we need to be, you know, offline once in a while. And it's so weird that Fangoria, which is in so many ways responsible for online horror culture, just the way we talk about horror films and the way we write about horror films, so much of it is tied directly to Fango's DNA from back in the day. But the idea that I'm presenting Fangoria as some sort of healthy alternative to the internet is perversely pleasing to me.
How are you guys gonna? Because what's great about horror movies is there's that kind of nostalgic piece to all of us when we were raised on horror, and especially in the 80s, and the, you know, celebration of kind of physical and practical effects and things like that. And Fangoria at the time, I think, helped with that. Like, it was kind of a celebration of the creation of these films. And I'm assuming you guys are going to keep that going, but how would you wrangle outside of the nostalgic aspect of it? Do you see this as a way as bringing the younger generation up with the new films as well? Like, how are you going to balance the nostalgic and new?
It's a good question. We ask ourselves that question every day, I think, and it's an important part of figuring out what we're doing. You said something earlier about the way Fango was an into filmmaking. You know, as I read it in the 80s, right? Mm-hmm. Here's my brief history of me and Fango. I was terrified of horror movies. The first movie I remember seeing was The Exorcist. I saw it at the drive-in in 1974. Wow. And it was, you know, it made a mark on me. I saw American Werewolf in London on my 11th birthday, and it scared the shit out of me. And I saw The Thing, and I was afraid of my dog afterwards. And it Fangoria became this way to not be afraid of horror movies. Yes. Fangoria was a way of here's a guy. His name's Rob Bottin. He's making this thing. Here's George Romero. He's using editing to make this scene make sense. And it was a film school for me. It made me understand the craft of filmmaking, and it made me understand that this movie's kind of gory trash, but here's John Carpenter who's putting a little extra into it, and he's got something to say. It taught me the difference between good and bad horror, even as I came to appreciate both. Mm-hmm. So I would love for the new Fango to be that for a new generation. I don't know if it is. I mean, I think it's awesome that we're in print. I think it's awesome that we're committing to a print-only version. Whether or not a younger audience buys into that, I'm not sure, but I hope that they do, and I hope that when they open it, they find that it is the same sort of like Willy Wonka-esque, you know, ticket into a whole new way of understanding how films get made. But to answer your question more specifically, we are very much invested in doing effects-centric pieces, sometimes even like tutorial stuff of here's how Tate Steinsick made this throat slash from A to Z, right? Mm-hmm. With pictures of the whole steps along the way. I was at Monster Palooza in Los Angeles a couple weeks ago and met some amazing makeup artists. I can't believe what people are doing today with silicone and whatnot. I was using like liquid latex as a kid, and I never got past the foam latex era. But these guys are making just amazing things with all new materials, and it's an exciting time for practical effects. I think people are quick to say, "Oh, CGI is everywhere and it's ruining everything," but practical is better than it's ever been, and I really want to highlight it in the magazine. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I was talking to Wes Ball, a director of Maze Runner, the Maze Runner trilogy, and he had the same approach. The blend. He said right now the best time to be a director and in filmmaking with special effects is now, because the blend of practical with the proper blend of CGI. You know, it's a really exciting time to be in that toolbox.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine how freeing it must be for filmmakers to have, to be able to create an amazing practical effect. And if you need CGI to kind of, make it blink or give it a little oomph or something, it's got to be like a kid in a candy store feeling.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's how I got over my fear of horror movies too. And I think I was in a library, and I think it had to have been an issue of Fangoria or some picture book or some behind the scenes book on one of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I think it was now Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and seeing how they did the effect of Freddy crawling out of the guy's stomach, really kind of dissolved that fear. And I saw that the special effects aspect of it, and that really kind of took that fear away from me. It was really cool, and that just kind of started my journey of looking into special effects. Stephanie, sorry, did I interrupt you? Were you going to ask something?
Oh, no, I saw you didn't want the magazine to be stuffed with ads, and I think that's wonderful. But one thing I think would be great to bring back would be the advertisement for Tom Savini's effects school. That was always in every issue. I would study that and dream.
It was in every issue that you read. There was no Tom Savini effects school when I was reading Fango, but there's you bring up an interesting point in that there's a certain nostalgia for ads, right? And so we could be boastful and say there won't be any ads, but I think part of the legacy is something that you just hit on, is that there should be some ads, but they need to be the right ads.
Mm-hmm.
How about just back pages where readers could do little messages and maybe some tape trading? Maybe you could bring back tape trading. Something to think about.
Tape trading. It's possible. I would love to bring back the classifieds. I would love to bring back the way that when you subscribed, you got a free classified in the back. We're going to experiment with something like that, I think. But we sat around the office when we first dived into this thing and looked at, I had a Fango number 1 in my hands, and I had a Fango number 337 in my hands, and we saw the evolution of the magazine. And it's just that by the end, they were selling every spare corner of the thing to ads, and that's a financial choice, and that's something that they needed to do. And no shade on that at all, but we're in a space now where the version of the magazine we're creating doesn't need to do that. So we want to kind of restore it to closer to the 80s model, where the ads were kind of curated and the ads made a kind of sense. I opened an issue that just had a porn ad in it, and it wasn't horror porn. It was just porn. And that's something I'm looking to get away from. I don't think that part of our reset, I think, needs to be that Fango needs to be horror, not horror adjacent, not horror lifestyle. It needs to sort of focus on the content of horror narratives, whether that's storytelling, whether that's artwork, whether that's horror fiction or filmmaking. I want to make it about the content of horror again, and not about all the ancillary stuff. And the not renting every third page to a self-published novel is probably part of that.
Well, that's what kept me from kind of keeping up with magazines, was I would have a sliver of content and then just be flipping through ads, and that really kind of sealed the deal on me not really subscribing to anything, not really picking up any magazines as I went by in the supermarket or whatever, just because of that mindset of the ad, and I get it. I mean, I really get it. Just even doing podcasts and websites, it's like, I don't want to do ads, at all. And we're not big enough for anyone to really want to do a whole lot of ads anyway, but
don't tell them that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
yeah,
you
we
guys
have,
are great.
Sorry, we have 17,000 subscribers.
Now.
But I don't like ads. Like I've never, I guess a plethora of ads, overtaking everything.
It's
like,
drag, sure.
Like Stephanie said, like if it, like, I remember magazines like Nintendo Power and things like that had really cool big spreads of an ad that was awesome. And you look back at those and it was just a fun ad. It was a well composed and fun picture with the information about the product they're selling. And that stuff I'm fine with, but you see it online and everything with websites, pop-up ads and everything. Are you guys going to be using Fangoria.com to do anything like keep up with current events, or are you going to leave that to kind of all these? I mean, there's a good amount of other horror sites out there, but what's your guys' plan for the online content?
There's a 2.0 plan, or a year 2 plan that that will involve kind of using that space in an interesting and exciting way that will not be what it was. It will not be, here's a news article and here's a trailer and here's a Blu-ray cover art. As you say, I feel like that's covered, right? Yeah. I don't think we need to do that. There's plenty out there. I think our focus is going to more be on a social media presence, interacting with our readers through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our website will be, for the time being, where you can sign up for a subscription and probably also learn about the contents of the latest issue. Mm-hmm. But we will not. What's in our magazine is exclusive to the magazine. We will not be putting articles from the magazine on the website. We will not be repurposing stuff from the internet for the magazine. It's like I've said this a bunch of times, but as a kid, Fangoria was this thing I had to hunt down, and I coveted it, and it was special, and there was nothing else like it. So the main goal for me is to recreate that feeling in a 2018 reader. Awesome. And the way to do that is exclusivity, and the way to do that is to make it special and unique, and it's the only place to find what you're finding in there. So the bleeding into the website and whatnot just dilutes that message for me. So that is not something I'm interested in doing at the moment.
Cool. We got to start wrapping up. Stephanie, did you have anything else you want to ask before I start wrapping things up?
Yeah, just a quick question. Nightmare Library was huge for me. That's what introduced me to Joe Lansdale and David J. Scow and Lisa Tuttle, and people I still love. Do you have any plans for bringing back Nightmare Library or anything that focuses on horror literature?
Well, yeah, yes and no. There's as I say, with a quarterly, it makes it hard to review books because that book's been out. By the time we would get a preview copy and be able to review it and go to print, that book has gone from hardcover to paperback. So reviews are going to be tougher, but we are exploring ways to feature fiction excerpts, and we are exploring ways to sort of feature horror writers of horror fiction in a way that's organic to the quarterly. I want to hear from them. I don't know that we're reviewing them.
Okay, great.
So we're looking into that stuff. Yeah.
So Phil, where can people go? So by the time they're hearing this, they can subscribe. What all, if we can just, I guess, review what all entails a subscription. Also, those Fangoria pins are badass, and are those going to be available? What's the plan? Dude, I mean,
I can't. I this is just me being a dork, but like, I can't tell you how excited I am about those pins. I was sitting with my friend Melissa Kay, and she said, you could have the old magazine cover as the backing card. And I was like,
that's such a genius idea.
It's so genius. God. I have to hook her up. And then, so I evolved that idea into like, what if it was 4 covers and 3 of them had the red logo and 1 of them had the yellow, and then you don't know which one you're getting. And like, the guys at Fright Rags made exactly what I had in my head. Mm-hmm. I described it to them. I described it to a lot of people who didn't understand what I was talking about. And then the Fright Rags guys got it. And and that's why they're selling our stuff, man. Awesome. They killed it. Those pins are so great. I can't wait to get them. People have them online. I don't have them yet. I'm jealous.
I need to place an order for sure.
Get them in there because they only made 350 of them.
Yeah.
The magazine. You want to know about subscribing to the magazine?
Sure, yeah. But yeah, before we sign off, we need to make sure people burn it into their ear holes. How the hell to get your hands on this on Fangoria. You're going to go to fangoria.com, and it is a quarterly subscription. Each issue is 100 pages. So you sign up for a year subscription, you're going to get 400 pages of Fangoria. That comes out to it's a $60 subscription, and that comes out to 15 cents a page, which if you look at the other mags that are happening out there, everybody's doing a great job. I think our price is pretty competitive. Yeah, that was around the ballpark I was thinking it would be anyway. That I'm like, yeah, I'm totally going to pay that. That's no problem.
Yeah. Our cover price, which is another one I'm going to take credit for, is $19.79. Because
there you go.
Get it? And but don't buy the cover price. Buy the subscription. It's going to be it's more cost effective that way, and we're putting a lot of ass into this thing, and it's going to be worth it. I promise.
Awesome. Phil, thank you for joining us. Of course, go to fangoria.com for all of your Fangoria needs. Thanks, Phil. Look forward to talking again soon.
All right.
Well, joining us on the Screamcast is a man who's been doing horror films independently for quite some time. I want to say, as of now, a few decades. Todd Sheets joins us on the Screamcast. Todd, welcome.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So first of all, both of you. So Brad's on the call too. I need to introduce Brad here.
Hello. Yay.
Brad's driving home from work, so we're hoping he's Skyping safely on his Bluetooth, which I'm sure he is. I wanted to get your guys' reactions before we get going here on the full-on interview. What are your guys' thoughts, Todd? You especially on the rise of Fangoria coming back. I guess their first issue will be in October.
Cool. That's exciting. I'm Fangoria is like a major deal for me because back in the day when Uncle Bob was, in the editor and they were putting, zombie on the cover and we had Godzilla and, stuff like that. Those were like the issues that were influential to me because I was kind of a famous monsters kid and I grew up with famous monsters of filmland and I really, that was kind of my thing. And Forey, I thought there's no magazine that's going to be that good, but I actually really enjoyed Fangoria and I really thought it was an interesting, different take on the same subject matter. Forey had his version of, horror cinema and what he promoted. And then we had, Fangoria, and they promoted the wild, crazy stuff from overseas, the Italian horror and things that I'd been seeing at the drive-in and sometimes the indoor theaters. Now we call them grindhouses, but back then they were just like the indoor drive-in kind of. So that's kind of what was going on.
Brad, and any thoughts from you? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yeah, I know. I guess it was like 1995. I really got into picking up Fangoria at a local bookstore. They had the magazines, and my mom would pick one up when she went because she was really into country decorating at a time. So those country living magazines, she would pick up in the Better Housekeeping and shit like that. And when she was there, I would say, "Hey, can you pick me up an issue of Fangoria?" So I was never really subscribed, but I was constantly getting copies as much as I could, and it was just something that turned me on to new things and reading about people that I worshipped and loved and got to get more intimate with them, I guess you could say. It felt like, because when we were growing up, we didn't have commentaries and shit like that. We just did the movies, so it was kind of a better insight in that fashion, and it was always kind of a dream to get the new issue and learn more about these people, and now it's coming back, and I'm sure we'll get more of that. It's just cool cool to actually see Fangoria come back because it was such a staple in a lot of our, for people like me, their childhood, and then, of course, filmmakers. It was just, something to see, and a lot of them made the issues too. So it was just something that they had to promote them worldwide.
Todd, I wanted to talk a little bit before we get going, talking about Bonehill Road, and congratulations, by the way. I see that it won at the best feature film over at Bloody Horror International Film Festival. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. All the film festivals have just been so receptive. It kind of started with House of Forbidden Secrets, my comeback movie in 2012, and we had a lot of film festivals show that, and then Bonehill Road just kind of, is continuing the tradition, because Dreaming Purple Neon, the movie that we did right before this Bonehill Road film, right after House of Forbidden Secrets, we did Dreaming Purple Neon. It went to 77 film festivals. We won awards everywhere, and I was just like freaking out about how much people were embracing this stuff, because it's kind of old school. We don't use CGI, and we do a lot of practical gore effects and things like that, just to keep it kind of feeling like the movies I grew up loving,
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty proud of the fact that this movie's doing that as well, and it's staying on the path. We had a really good screening in Hollywood. People just really, really responded to the film there. And it was just really, it's been really, really awesome, the amount of support people are giving these movies. And like with Bonehill Road, we really, that movie, it was so difficult to make because of the fact that we had full wolf suits. We had like 5 of them, and they were made by Midnight Studios. And the thing was, these suits are just so expensive, and then the heads came from England. When you put all the suits together and the different heads and everything, it was like around $4,000 a suit, around $3,500, plus shipping charges and all that. So, to have that many suits on the budget we had, which was, we had a successful Indiegogo, but it was low budget, and we did this movie, including bringing in some genre icons like Gary Kent and Linnea Quigley, and making this film with our passion, really, because we had like $13,000 or so at the time to make the movie, and we did it. I don't know how we did it, but we did.
Well, that's what's pretty incredible with the practical effects. And I was going to mention those the werewolf suits look great. I mean, I'm always a fan of the werewolves in a suit. I'm a huge fan of Dog Soldiers and how they brought that incorporated that in that film, and just seeing, I don't know, there's something a little more terrifying, I guess, if you know that they're right there with the actors.
It's true. Yeah. 100%. I agree. CGI, no matter how good it is, it just doesn't seem like it really feels real, because it's not real. I mean, the actors are not interacting with these creatures. And when you have people in suits, if you do it right and you film it right, which takes a lot of practice, then it can really turn out much better, because it feels like it's more organic, and these actors really have something to act with in the scene,
So, yeah, I mean, I loved Bonehill Road. It was, it definitely felt like a step up for Todd for some of the past films he's done, as far as like budget and just dealing with things. I mean, it's just more intricate, I guess. So it's fun to see a filmmaker grow even more, even after all this time. Discovering him like in the 90s. I would say probably like around 97 is when I very first saw Zombie Bloodbath, and that's just something that I truly love, and just kind of just grew old with that.
Wow, that's the greatest compliment you can get, really, and that's really the key. If you don't grow with every project, what's the point of doing it? I feel like a film where you don't learn something is a wasted opportunity, and really, that's kind of the way I feel about everyday living. I mean, every day is a learning experience, and if you don't learn something that day, I feel like I've wasted that day. So I completely understand, what you're saying about trying to grow with each film. Like with Dreaming Purple Neon, I saw us take a huge leap forward in a lot of areas. And the funny thing about that movie is, here it is hitting, film festivals everywhere. It's doing all this stuff, and we're getting things out there, and people are loving this movie. And I'm like, that movie cost around $3,500, and it was on credit cards. And then at the end of the day, it went up a little bit because we were buying promotional stuff and getting banners made and, things to take with us on the film festivals and for the tours. And it ended up being around $5,000 at the end of the day, but only $3,500 was actual production costs and stuff. And then the rest was like after the fact. So it was really interesting to see the reaction to that and to show that we could do this much, entertainment on that amount of money. And it kind of blew a lot of minds because we also showed that, not only at film festivals, but we took it on theaters too. And we took it to LA and we had a big deal there. And people were like, what the hell are you doing? This is ridiculous that you're able to do this but it's because of the amount of passion, amount of heart, the hard work of the crew and the cast. Mm-hmm. See, my name gets out there a lot as the director, I also get to blame if the movie sucks, but at the same time, the cast and the crew make all of it possible. And they work so hard, and none of us take a salary. We're all there pouring hours and hours into this stuff. And like for Dreaming Purple Neon, that was 6 months of production. And then, the pre-production, then the production itself, and post-production work, it took even longer. And so that movie was, 9 months of my life. And then we get it out there, and House of Forbidden Secrets was 2 years of my life, just because that's how long it took to get it where we needed it to be. And Bonehill Road, we did it pretty quick. We kind of got this to where we started at the end of June. This movie was in theaters at Halloween. We were busting our asses to get that done. We had some setbacks at the beginning that pushed our start date a little later than we wanted. So we really, really hit it full on in July and August, and then ended it up in September, did some shooting in LA here in the Midwest. And then we, finished it up. I was still editing like the week of the premiere just to get it all done. So it's one of those things where, I was basically living that movie every moment of my life. And to hear what, you guys had to say about these films just warms my heart, because ultimately that's the ultimate thing we do it for. It's for people to enjoy it, because God knows we're not getting rich here. We're just following our dreams and trying to give back to the genre that we love. And that's exactly what's happening when I hear people say how much they love the films. That's what it's all about for me.
I want to talk about Clownado in just a little bit, but I wanted to give a chance. Where can people check out Bonehill Road and your previous films? Where's the easiest place for them to get their hands on them or even view them?
Well, all the old films, they're being reissued by Wild Eye Releasing, the older stuff, the stuff before I was in the hospital with my heart attack and everything. That's like pre-2012 stuff. And I was out for a few years because one of my friends was killed, and it just was a really rough time for me. Yeah. I was raising 2 kids, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to concentrate on this radio show I was doing, and not, I just didn't have enough of me to go around at the moment. So the stuff from 2012 on, it's coming out. House of Forbidden Secrets is coming out from Unearthed Films, who also just released Dreaming Purple Neon in 2017. You could pick that up anywhere. You could search for it out there on Amazon or Google. It always pops up. Bonehill Road will be coming out through Wild Eye Releasing and his MBD and those guys, his different sub-distributors. That'll all be coming out in the fall around Halloween. And the reason is because we're still doing the theatrical tour. We're still doing we're still doing film festivals and all that. And they won't take a movie usually that's already out on video. So we kind of give it some time to live, because I think in a theater is really where these films belong, if at all possible, to experience them the way I did when I was a kid. You go and watch a crazy monster flick, and there's not very many of those anymore. So any opportunity I have to have people see it in that environment with other horror fans where they can enjoy it and laugh and scream and have a good time, that's why we kind of do that. So those are all coming out. And then we've got, like I said, the original catalog of stuff. I disowned a lot of the stuff I made before 1993 because it was pretty awful, and I was just a kid, and I got really mean people attacking me, telling me if I ever picked up a camera again, they'd kill my mother. This really happened.
Oh, man.
These guys were just really mean. I was like, look, I'm just a kid. Those were me and my friends out making movies, and David Dakota was my mentor, and he gave me a chance to release these films worldwide. Probably something I shouldn't have done, but I'm really thankful that I did, because it taught me a lot. It also taught me how cruel and evil people could be. But you know what? It helped me grow, even though it hurt. It helped me grow. It made me say, you know what? I need to learn to do better at this and to do better at that, so that the films are better and I'm not feeling like a jerk. So that, everything in your life, I think, is an evolving process. And that was something that was. But from 1993 on, I pretty much accept all those movies. And I'm happy with, like he said, Zombie Bloodbath's kind of what I consider my first real movie, even though I'd made 7 or 8 before that. That's the one I consider my first real film. And it's coming back out. Mm-hmm. This is the actual 25th anniversary of Zombie Bloodbath. We're trying to get something out for that, some kind of a Blu-ray deal, and make it kind of special. And then there's a lot of other stuff coming down the road. All that old catalog will be hitting at the end of this year and going into next year. And because there's a lot of titles. I mean, there's like 15 movies. Yeah. So it'll take a while.
So Clownado. So you have, at this time that we're recording, we have 9 days left for the Indiegogo campaign. By the time people hear this, there'll be 7 days left. So what's now just the title alone is selling me.
It's crazy.
What is Clownado about?
Well, Clownado is, first of all, it's not a comedy, even though it's got this crazy title. But the title, I think, is the hook here, because it's kind of like people are going to think it's like, I've had people say it's either a ripoff of Sharknado, or it's a ripoff of It, or it's a ripoff of this or that. It's absolutely not. It's an original idea that's really kind of different. It was really more of a jokey thing. A maintenance guy here at the studio, that's a friend of mine, was joking around about titles, and I already had a script about clowns, and this is one that I've had for 15 years. But kind of the same with Bonehill Road. That sucker was 20 years. But as I'm sitting here and I'm hearing him talk about these titles, he rattles off Clownado, and my light bulb just went off. And I was like, man, I love that. We could really do something with that. Maybe I could mix that with this other movie, and I've got an idea of how it could work. And his name's Daryl. And so I turned to Daryl and I said, you know what? I absolutely love that. We might be able to do something with that. And so one of the other ones was Zika Zombies, which I thought was funny. But the Sharknado thing just really clicked with me. And I said, I really, something about that rolls off the tongue. And so I took this older script and I looked at it and I was like, this actually could work. I had an idea. It's more of a supernatural idea of how this all happens. And it's, even though, you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, it's a horror movie. I figure if you can believe that, a Crystal Lake killer could come back from the bottom of a lake, you could probably believe in what we're doing in Clownado. It's more based on black magic and supernatural stuff and the thing that happens. And it's kind of got a noir base to it, the film noir kind of thing, which I love. And what I mean by that is it's not got like gumshoes running around in black and white and all that popping off Tommy guns, but it's got that lighting style and the style of dialogue where it's kind of fast paced, bam, bam, something's always happening. And it's got a mystery that's kind of unraveling at the same time. And it's just nonstop carnage. I mean, this thing is my goriest film I ever made was Dreaming Purple Neon. And this probably is going to be right behind that in terms of gore. It's really, really pushing the boundaries of a lot of things that people have never seen before, I promise. So it's a really interesting idea. It's got scary stuff in it. It's got dark humor in it, but it's definitely not like a comedy. The over-the-top gore is there too, so that kind of pushes the boundaries. So it's got a lot of these elements that I think will really surprise people, especially if they're looking at it like a joke. Awesome. When they see it, I think it's going to be more like, wow, this is actually what my hope is they watch it and go, wow, this is actually a good movie with a decent story, as opposed to, God, that movie was schmaltzy and crappy. I want it to be more like the opposite. I want to surprise people when they watch it. So I'm hoping that's what we can do.
Awesome. Well, you had a 3,500, I guess, flex goal. You surpassed that, and we're keeping it going here. So,
yeah, I appreciate that, because originally, we had 2 campaigns. We had the GoFundMe and we had the Indiegogo. And the reason why is I asked the fans, the horror fans out there, and the people who, support us. I said, what, who I don't consider, I'm not worthy of fans. I definitely like friends is a better word.
Yeah.
But all of our friends out there said, you should do both, because that, some people are comfortable with one, some people are comfortable with the other. Do both. And so I did. And we were hoping to raise around 10. So I thought, well, I'll do 35 on Indie and I'll do 7 over here. And GoFundMe has stalled. I mean, I don't know. No one likes it. I don't know what's going on, but they're like, we got like 1,000, maybe 1,200 or something.
Oh, man.
And they're like, yeah, we don't like GoFundMe. I'm like, wow, that's weird. So after I was told to use it, no one wants to use it. So I'm going, oh my God. So yeah, we did meet our goal on Indiegogo.
Okay.
We could use a lot more. I'd love for people to go there and help us and keep this thing rolling because luckily we'll be able to go in demand and I'd love to see it. I'd love to see more support there.
So the Indiegogo is going to be done from by the time people are listening in 7 days, but the GoFundMe is going to keep on going.
Well, I think both of them will if we meet our goal on Indiegogo, they allow us to go into the in-demand thing where it kind of goes longer.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm hoping that'll happen as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. You got a lot of really fun perks and everything, as well as there's a Blu-ray and a poster, all that stuff. So, well, I'm going to make sure we put this in the show notes so everyone can click on these and support.
Something you said, Todd, before, and it's just something as a fan, is that you said you made those films and you got like death threats and people are going to kill family members and stuff. If it wasn't for seeing some of your films, I wouldn't have got into independent, like really independent horror, like those. We're not talking about like B grade stuff. We're talking about even lower than that, like picking up a video camera and just filming stuff. That's what inspired me to even be more of a filmmaker, is watching. Like I said, like I got how it all happened. I'll go to a story here, I guess. Is that I got into I bought a bootleg of Olaf Ettenbach's Musos, the Last Fallen Angel.
Right. Yeah.
I picked that up, and it was a bootleg because it wasn't really available around that time that I originally saw it. And someone spliced together some trailers in the beginning of the tape, and one of them was the Zombie Bloodbath. And I remember picking up the Musos and seeing that, and then I told my mom, I was like, because I would buying stuff like on eBay and things like that, and I found a copy of like Zombie Blood. I think it was even Zombie Bloodbath 2. I don't even think it was the first one. I found it on VHS for like $20, and I begged my mom to get it because I really wanted to see this movie. And she went ahead and helped me purchase it, and that's kind of like the Todd Sheets train that I got on and watched her stuff ever since. So
wow.
I'm seeing those as a kid. I mean, I'm only 33, so 95, 96, 97, around that time, like I said, I was only like 13 years old when I was watching like Zombie Bloodbath and stuff. So as a filmmaker, that stuff really inspired me. So, if you got a death threat or 10 death threats or 20 death threats, just remember, like, one of the reasons why I'm doing what I do is partially because of you. So, thank you. I know this isn't, like, this is supposed to be an interview, but it's just mainly me. But yeah, I really got into that. And, it got me in a lot of other filmmakers. Like I said, all off that, and then I got into like Meat Market. I'm sure you've seen that. You're probably loves Meat Market, but yeah, I got into Meat Market and shit like that. It just kind of all that route. And, even J.R. Bookwalter. That's how I got into that shit too. So any shot on video stuff, anything like that, I got in because of watching films like that. But I did have one question, and you're gonna know, coming from somebody else that maybe not be a fan, I think you'll understand this a little bit better. Coming from a fan and understanding what you do, is that you've been in the game for so goddamn long, and it's such an inspiration for a lot of people to see. But like you said, you're not making millions of dollars. You're barely making any money for some of this stuff, and you still never gave up. And obviously, it's because of passion. But what about that just keeps you going aside from passion? Because I mean, passion's always every filmmaker's thing. But like, what keeps you going constantly, making even sequels upon sequel, and like just keeps on making movies?
I think they describe it as clinical insanity. But in all honesty, it's hearing what I just heard from you. It's hearing things like that, because when I was in the hospital, I thought I was going to die there. I was in there for 31 days. I had open heart surgery and quadruple bypass surgery on my heart. I've never drank or done drugs or anything. It was just genetic, right? Because I'm a nerd. I don't do any of that stuff. But it was genetic. And when I was in that hospital, you know, it's people like you that kept me going there, because like they started a fan club for me on Facebook. I didn't even know about it. Brandon, Bennett, Thomas, Bradinsky, Matt Hill, these guys started this fan club. I had no idea people love these movies like what you just said. You know, it was harder then to kind of get that information. So I kind of really got inspired by that, and I'm still inspired by that. I'm inspired by what I hear. I really, truly do want to give back to the genre that I love and that has done so much for me. Like when I had a terrible day as a kid, you know, a bad day at school, you got in a fight with your friends, you got in a fight with your parents, whatever. I'd go to the movies. I'd escape for 90 minutes, you know. Movies like you know, there's a million of them, Slithus and Phantasm and the Herschel Gordon Lewis movies and Suspiria and especially Fulci, you know, all his stuff. All this stuff really helped me. It made me have a better day. It made me have a better week sometimes. You know, when you're a kid, you got a broken home. You know, I didn't have a lot of people to turn to, so they became something I could turn to, is going and watching these fantastical films, these imaginative, crazy movies. And I just really enjoyed the art of it all and how it took you away from things. This filmmaker created a whole universe. And that's what I had hoped to do myself when I fell in love with this stuff and I was making Frankenstein epics at, you know, 12 years old on Super 8 film. I wanted it to all, you know, I wanted to give back. And that's really what keeps me going is, you know, I do have a passion, a love for it. And I do have I think there is a bit of insanity involved, because I think you have to be crazy to keep banging your head against the wall this many years. And there have been high points and there have been low points, and Zombie Bloodbath was a huge high point. You know, a lot of people mention that. We did, like, back then the VHS thing was hitting hard, and we did like 35,000 copies of that thing worldwide. It was a huge success, which saved my butt because all the other movies were flops. So up until then, all my investors were like, are we ever going to see any money? And that movie saved my ass, and I was able to give everybody their money back. But yet, you know, I made enough to buy some new equipment, and that's what I do is I pour the money back into the company and buy more equipment and keep trying to do better. And you're right, you know, it's absolutely sometimes very daunting, and sometimes I keep saying I'm going to retire, but I can't really retire because I love it too much, which is its own form of sickness, I think. But at the same time, it's much healthier for me to do this than I can think of a lot of people doing a lot of worse things. So.
Yeah, don't ever retire until like
I'm trying not to
able to make movies anymore. That'd be great. But yeah, I mean, if anybody can find out, like I know, like you said, Wild Eye is working on some stuff, so I'm hoping people will look forward to that because I am. And you know, it's just something about reissues, and like I said, a lot of your films was almost impossible to find. I mean, as a young kid getting into this stuff in the mid 90s, it was fucking difficult. Like, I mean, now we have like, you know, Monster Squad and Return of the Living Dead at our fingertips. But even back then, those movies were incredibly hard to find.
Sometimes,
yeah, most to next to impossible. Like, people are like, what, Return of the Living Dead? I was like, yeah, that movie was almost impossible to find back in the day. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
It's true.
So
that's true. Things were
exciting.
Different. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, that's the thing is with the internet, things are more readily available and stuff, and people can keep up with things easier. Like if you join the Facebook group for Todd Sheets, that fan club that they made, it's on there, and I'm actually a part of it. And I post things there first, so people get like the first news there. And also I'm on Facebook. People can ask to be my friend, and I pretty much accept everybody. Sometimes I wonder why, because I get weird spam from like Indonesia, but I accept everyone. You know, and it's really, you know, it's the way it is, you know, and I'm open to everybody, you know, I'm always open to talk about anything. If anyone always, like right now, I'm still finishing the Indiegogo stuff for Bonehill because it was so overwhelmingly positive, and I'm still sending all that out, and people, you know, they're like, well, where's my package? And I'm always very open to talk to them about it. Hey man, you know, here's where I'm at. This is what we're doing. You know, I'm doing most of it by myself, and I'm filling, you know, over 600 packages with all these perks. So just work with me. And, you know, and everyone's like, hey, this is great. We can't believe you're actually responding yourself. And I said, well, how else would you do it? You know, there's no committee here. Right. This is me and you. And that's how we do it, you know?
Well, most people don't fulfill. That's the trick. You're one of the
I've
ones
been hearing that.
Yeah,
I've been hearing all that.
Don't do anything.
It gets tough. Todd, I want to thank you for chatting with us today. I know that I'm really excited to see Clownado. I'm really excited for people to be able to see Bonehill Road a lot, have that more accessible to them. So yeah, check it out. It's a lot of fun. If you dig werewolf flicks, you'll definitely, there's a lot to bite onto.
There you go.
This one, bad pun intended. Some really great practical effects, and and it's a wild ride too. Like I wasn't expecting it to be. It's a little bit of a roller coaster ride because this one point in the movie you're like, wow, it kind of changes focus a little bit, but then I don't know. This hit some unexpected notes, which was a lot of fun for me watching it. So check that out, everyone. Keep your eyes open for that. Todd, thank you for joining us on the Screamcast today. I'm hoping we talk again soon.
I would love that. Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Well, that is it for this episode of the Screamcast. I want to thank all of you for listening. I especially want to thank our Club Scum members for joining on Patreon and giving us a couple bucks a month. We really couldn't do the show without you. It really does help pay for new equipment, software, and anything that we need to run this. So it has helped a lot this year, especially as I've been kind of growing screamingpods.com. So I want to thank all of you guys for doing that. We'll be doing a drawing very, very soon. And as you've noticed, you have gotten a few perks. And I'm not gonna spill the beans, but it's this next episode we're covering the movie Link. And let's just say that a lot of you Club Scum members are going to be in on the conversation a little more than other people. So a lot of perks with being a member of Club Scum. Of course, you get a membership card. And, as we move along this year, there's a lot more we want to do. We're just so busy with our personal lives and jobs. It's hard to really do anything extra as far as podcasting goes, but we have some tricks up our sleeves, and we'll be doing some more stuff, some special things this year with our Club Scum members. So I want to thank all of you guys for being a part of that. You know who you are. Please check out our store. We have some merch. If you go to thescreamcast.com, you click on store, it takes you to the screamingpods.com store. Club Scum members get a 20% discount. 25% discount. They get a discount on any of the Screamcast merchandise. We have some stickers and some mugs and some magnets. And also, if you go to the Screaming Threads link over at thescreamcast.com, you can get some pins that Brad Henderson helped create. And he's really trying to unload the Suspiria pin. Please spread the word and let's get that off his hands. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Wolfman of Mars for the music, Kevin Spencer for the design. Please check out Coffee Shop of Horrors. If you use the code Screamcast, you get a 10% discount. Also, grindhousevideo.com. Check them out. They do a really good job of getting you the new releases, sometimes a little bit early. And make sure you follow him on Facebook. And I know that Mike does I think it's a weekly Facebook video, and he lets everyone know what's coming in and what's been announced and pre-orders and all that. So if you follow him on social media there, especially Facebook, you definitely will be in the know as far as new releases, and he kind of breaks things down. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode. We'll talk to all of you very soon. Like I said, we're covering the film Link, Mon, Monsters, and The Gate 2. Talk to all of you next time.
Oh, don't tell me you're leaving. The party's just begun.